Wisp Sports Radio, the voice of women in sport.
Welcome to Season 2, Episode 3 of the WeCoach podcast on Wisp Sports. Every 2 weeks, we go one-on-one with some of the greatest women coaches, administrators, and industry leaders in the world of sports for insightful and inspiring conversations. I'm your host, Megan Kahn, CEO of WeCoach. This podcast is a co-production of WeCoach and Wisp Sports. WeCoach has become the premier nonprofit organization committed to keeping and advancing women in the coaching profession. Through our in-person and online programming and resources, we are empowering current female coaches and inspiring the next generation of young girls who dream of following in their footsteps. Today's guest, Coach Carol Owens, is in her 20th season on the Notre Dame women's basketball sideline, her 11th as associate head coach. She's helped lead the Fighting Irish to 2 national titles, hoisting the trophy in 2001 and in 2018. Coach O is fresh off a banner year in which she was named the 2019 WBCA Division I Assistant Coach of the Year, along with being inducted into the inaugural Step Up Assistant Coach Hall of Fame. Let's give a warm welcome to our WeCoach board member. Hey, Carol, how are you? Thanks for being here.
How are you? Good to be here.
And let me say, I know this is a busy time. You're right in the thick of conference season, so I appreciate you taking a few minutes to spend with us.
No problem. I look forward to it.
It's a rainy day in Chicago. You already told me that.
Rainy. It was supposed to be snowing, but we'll take the rain in January.
Yeah. Well, exactly, compared to snow, right? And I actually said Chicago. I guess South Bend's not too far from Chicago. I was thinking Chicago because that's where you grew up.
Yes, it's where I grew up. So you know what? It's kind of down the street, about an hour and a half.
Not too far. So were you destined to be a basketball star growing up in Chicago?
Well, I had 2 parents that our household, it was always sports on TV. So if I didn't learn how to play something, I would have struggled because my parents loved sports. And, not that they played any collegiate sports at all, but I just grew up in a household that it was either football or basketball on or tennis, something. So I was probably, like groomed and kind of desensitized or something like that to go into some form of sports.
Do you have brothers and sisters? Were they into sports?
I'm an only child.
You are an only child. And are you a product of Title IX pretty much?
I believe so. Title IX started right before I did, so I'm the beneficiary of Title IX. I remember I began high school in 81, I believe, and I just remember there were some volleyball players, a couple of basketball players, yelling that I got a scholarship, and at that time I was a freshman. I didn't know the importance of that and how it was probably the beginning of women getting scholarships. So I am a product of Title IX, obviously, but those that were before me kind of started it.
Which is awesome.
Trailblazers.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Which is awesome. We stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. So I kind of want to talk about that because I always think it's so interesting when, like you were just saying, and sometimes we hear if we had brothers that grew up playing sports, so we were maybe influenced by their decision. You were only child, and you learned by watching. Do you remember thinking at that point in time that you wanted to go on and get a scholarship or that you wanted to go on and be a coach? Because there wasn't necessarily too many role models out there.
It wasn't a lot of role models, in particular female role models that I saw on television. I don't know if you remember, it was one game out of the year, and it was the championship game that we got to see women's basketball. And Cheryl Miller was playing. I believe Kim Mulkey was at Louisiana Tech. Jody Conrad was in her prime in terms of coaching. Coaches like that, Vivian Stringer, but there was only one, you only got to see women playing basketball once out a year, television on, I believe, CBS. And so I didn't realize that I could get a scholarship probably to like the end of my sophomore year in high school. There was some interest from coaches, and they, explained to my parents like I can get my education paid for, because in my household that was the most important thing. They love sports, but the education part, there would be times where my books, if it interfered with my studying, I wasn't playing basketball. So my parents really instilled the education piece on it. But when they found out that I can get it paid for, uh, then they started saying, "Hey, this is something that you seem to enjoy. You're good at." So I got to do one camp in my whole high school career in the summer, and it was what was it? It was the Kathy Rush basketball camp, and they had one in South Bend, Indiana, at St. Mary's College. I remember that, and that was the only camp my parents allowed me to go to, because at the time in the state of Illinois we had no club basketball. So most of the opportunities that I had were league games, like park league games or something like that. But my parents like, okay, we're going to pay for one camp and see how much you get out of it. And so it was very beneficial, of course. Different environment, different, skill set. All the other girls were I was a sophomore, so they were a little bit more advanced, because I didn't start playing basketball till like seventh grade. Usually they're younger, and their skill set at that time was way ahead of mine. So when I went to camp, I learned a lot. Came back, and my dad would take me to the park, shoot. I mean, it was an emphasis in getting me better, and so that's when my junior year. That's when I realized I can go somewhere. I can go anywhere I wanted to go, and get it paid for. Um, that was an eye-opening experience. I was just so young and didn't really understand the big picture, but I certainly knew that I can get school paid for.
Big influence back then. Obviously, you caught up quickly. You go on to Northern Illinois. You have a phenomenal collegiate career. So while you were there, were you thinking about that next step? Did you think coaching was your calling?
I remember joking. My head coach was Jane Albright, and I just remember joking with her, like in the, like, I don't know if it was freshman or sophomore year, like, one day I'm gonna come back and I'm gonna coach, because at that time I didn't know that coaching could be a career. And so that was a big difference for me. It's just, coaching was just something you just did, just kind of, I didn't understand that you can actually make a career out of it. And so I went on to my college, career, graduated, and I went on to play professionally for about 3 years. Ended up retiring because just my knees were just had it. And uh, then, as I was starting to contemplate what was going to be my next move, I got a call and said that, "Hey, do you have any interest in coaching?" And I said, "Well, I've been thinking about it, but I mean, I'm not sure if it's something I want to do." And they was like, "Well, why don't you try it? This is a position for entry level coaching." It was called at the time restricted earnings coach, and it was restricted pay but full time hours. And I was like, "Sure, I'm retired. I'm just trying to figure out what direction I want to go anyway. So I'll try this coaching thing." And I got into coaching. I got to do a little bit. I couldn't do a whole lot on the court, but you know, my duties in comparison would be video coordinator meets equipment manager meets director of operation. That was kind of my role, all into
And
one.
other duties as assigned, right?
And all other duties as assigned. If I need to go get coffee, I got coffee. But it was exciting, and short story. This is a. Did you know that Les Miles, who was LSU coach, is now the Kansas Kansas football head coach, his wife and I are really good friends. She was at Michigan at that time. And she was kind of like a big sister to me, mentor, and so was Les. And that's where really I learned to love coaching, because Les's influence on me, even though I couldn't do a whole lot on the court or even go out recruiting, just his passion, and just the relationships he had with his players, I was able to be around that at Michigan. He's the one that, among others, Jane Albright, my head coach, but he's the one that was like, you really need to consider this as a career. Is nothing like it. You can influence so many young women. And I mean, he just gave me this pep talk that I was like, okay, all right, I'll think about doing it. So, yeah, that's kind of how I kind of started to get some sort of inkling of, I really want to do this, and I want to be good at it.
And then Muffet came knocking on your door.
Right. So I went to the Final Four and just kind of networked and expressed my interest in pursuing coaching as a full-time position, and went to, this is how this coaching network works. Went to dinner with Cammie Etheridge and Deb Patterson, who at the time were my assistant coaches at Northern Illinois. And they were then at Vanderbilt when Jim Foster was at Vanderbilt. Jim Foster is very close with Muffet McGraw and also her son's godfather. So I got to know Jim Foster at this dinner. I mean, I think we closed the place down. We were just having this long conversation. He got to know me, and told him my desire to continue to coach at a full-time position and my goals and all that. And he said, you know what, there may be a positioning opening up. I'm not sure yet, but I will communicate through Deb Patterson to communicate with you if it happens. And so maybe a couple of weeks later, I get a call from Deb Patterson. Then Jim Foster's assistant said, Jim says, you need to call Notre Dame. They have a position open. They think you'd be good at it. So I was like, Notre Dame? I was like, She's like, don't worry about it. You're ready. Don't worry. Just call. So I called Coach McGraw and left a message. And then I call immediately back from Muffet. And if anybody knows how Muffet operates, it's quickly. Okay, let's make it simple. So she said, hey, I remember you as a player, really like your game. I really want you to come up for an interview. So I'm thinking maybe a week. We'd schedule something. She's like, how about tomorrow? Can you drive up? Can you get here tomorrow? I was like, yeah, I can, but I just let you know, I don't have a suit or anything like that. And so she said, don't worry about it. Just get here. She's like, fax me your resume and then get here. So, so I'm like, okay. So I get there, I get there, and most of the interview was between her and I. Now I met with a few other administrators, and they had expressed, they made it clear, all of them had made it clear, like, this position is for someone with a lot of experience, just letting you know, give me a heads up. I said, I appreciate that. But during the course of, going back and forth with Coach McGraw and talking about her philosophy and talking about my ability to coach and, what I wanted to get out of the coaching experience and all that, I just said, I know I don't have a lot of experience, but I am eager to learn and I will figure it out. And she was like, okay, I appreciate that. So we ended the interview process by going to this Chinese restaurant with her husband, and they were impressed that her husband was impressed that I could use chopsticks because I played professionally in Japan. So I was telling them stories about that. So anyway, I left there. I told her, I said, I got to I'm working a basketball camp. And she's like, great, we got camp and I'll call you the end of the week. Okay. So I get back from camp and, when I get back, I'm thinking I've got messages or something. I didn't have a message at all. So, I was talking to then, this is how our coaching profession works. I worked camp with Corey Close. We were both starting out in this business. She was trying to figure out what angle she was going to go in. And so was I. So I get home. She's one of the first people that call me and say, did you get a call yet? The other person that was working at camp was Sue Simrau at Florida State.
Yep.
She calls. She's like, did you get a call yet? So, no, I didn't get a call. They were like, call her. You got to call her. So I ended up calling Coach McGraw, and the secretary called. She was like, she's in camp right now. She said she's going to call you back later. So she calls me back, and I answer, and she's like, hey, it's Muffet. Hey, Coach, how you doing? Yeah. Do you want the job? Yeah. Yes, I want the job. I didn't care about how much I was making. I didn't ask. I just knew it was going to be a great opportunity for me.
That's an awesome story.
Yeah.
And I love all the names, by the way. I love all the name dropping.
These people are, Sue's at Florida State, Corey's now at UCLA. There's been people that in the beginning of my career that were very influential in just the start of it, and just you never forget where you were and the people that were around you during that time.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. The power of network. I think we say it all the time when we're in it, and then we start connecting, and there's so many shared and mutual people in common. It is really wild. Absolutely.
More than we know, we know. So I will be forever grateful, obviously, to Jane Albright and Corey and Sue and of course Les Miles, but empowerment. Muffet hired me without having any experience at all. I didn't have any experience in recruiting. I didn't have any experience on the court, but I think she saw something in me that I didn't. So, and I feel like that was empowerment in itself.
Well, and that's exactly what everyone that's in a female coach coaching a women's team, we need to reach down and point at those young girls on the teams and say, hey, I think you might make a great coach. Have you ever considered coaching, and help create and recruit that pipeline of future female coaches? Absolutely.
I think that there's a misconception sometimes with head coach. Obviously, you want someone that has this top experience and all these things. And obviously, as a head coach, you have a lot of duties. But I think, like you say, it's our responsibility to pull people up and let them know that you believe in them. And as head coaches, you got to be mentors as well. And Muffet's one of my biggest mentors. The things that I'll tell you a quick story. I get to Notre Dame, and my first job in recruiting is to recruit Niele Ivey. And I was like, okay. So, that was my job. And Niele was very difficult to get on the phone because she was always somewhere in the gym, somewhere. But she was great. And we ended up getting her. She said, okay, the next year you're going to be recruiting coordinator. Now, Megan, I just told you I had no experience, right? Like, coach, you hired me with no experience. So when she said, next year you're going to be recruiting coordinator. So, get prepared. And I was like, okay. But I left and I was just like, oh my God, what am I doing? I don't know how to be a recruiting coordinator. What am I going to do? So I go back to her. I say, coach, I got to tell you, I don't know how to be a recruiting coordinator. I need you to help me, with all of this, and just tell me what direction you want me to go in, what do you want me to do, and all that. And she's like, look me straight in the eye. And she's like, I got nothing, but you're going to figure it out. And that is classic Muffet McGraw in terms of her staff. And so I was determined. She believed in me to give me that title at such a young age, but she was like, I'm not helping you. You're going to figure it out. And I, ended up figuring it out. Getting, prior year getting Niele Ivy, and then getting Ruth Riley, and, among others, for that class to win a championship in 2001. But, when someone gives you a challenge, they first need to know that you believe in them. And two, you got to hold some responsibility and to kind of rise into the challenge, I guess.
Got to be resourceful and go figure it out, right?
Go figure it out.
So outside of you having to go figure it out, if you could look back and tell your younger self one piece of advice, what would you tell her now?
In life, you think things are linear, and there's never a life that's so linear. You're going to go through obstacles that you're going to be appreciative of them, but it's a part of your journey. You know what I mean? And so you might have to go this route when you thought you were going this route, but you're still going to end up in the same place. Don't panic. It's all a part of your journey. And
the belief in that journey, right?
Right.
I love it. So you're at Notre Dame 10 years. You win a championship in 2001, Notre Dame's first championship, and then Northern Illinois comes knocking on your door. You have an opportunity to go back to your alma mater and become a head coach. So talk us through what went through your head there in making that decision to go be a head coach.
The decision, I had a conversation, end of the year conversation with Muffet, and she's like, I want you to be here as long as you want to be here. She's like, but I think you've hit a roof in terms of what I can teach you. I think you're ready to be a head coach when you're ready. The opportunity is there. And then there was opportunities. I interviewed different places, I either turned them down or I didn't get the job, which was fine. The interviewing process, having practice at that was invaluable. And so when NIU came open, one of the senior associate athletic directors, Jim Phillips, was here at Notre Dame, and we had a great relationship. And then he took over the AD position at Northern. That was a big attraction for me to leave my comfort zone and then go and be a head coach, which I wanted to be a head coach. So I wanted to go back to my alma mater because I had such a great experience as a player. I wanted to go back and, contribute and help at a different position, which would have been head coach. So I went back and the thing about being a head coach, especially starting out, is like no one can tell you exactly how it's going to go because every program is different. Every administration is different. You're gonna have different scenarios that necessarily don't relate to someone else. It's going to be different. And so everything is about people. And like you say, managing people, managing up, managing down, that really is what being a head coach is about. It's all about managing. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. There's going to be times when you're like, I don't know if I could do this. And then there's going to be times where I know I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be, And I think that was a part of my experience. I believe, the reason I left NIU is because Coach McGraw asked me to come back. Again, I had a great relationship with Coach. I mean, it was hard to leave my former players, and Jim Phillips left, and now he's at Northwestern. And so it was a different dynamic in terms of administration, but, I was able to come back as a head coach, and even my experience with USA Basketball as a head coach, come back and be the things that Coach McGraw needed me to be.
Yes, I want to ask you, because you just said be the things that Coach McGraw needed me to be. What made you a better assistant after having sat in that head coach seat?
After sitting in the head coach seat, I know a lot of coaches feel like they're on that island by themselves because you don't feel like anybody is, the pressure's on you, like you just move one seat down and you're standing. That's a difference. And you make decisions that when I was a assistant the first 10 years, and I was like, Coach, we got to do this. And Coach is like, let me think about it. And I'm like, what's there to think about? Let's just do it. And when you're in the head coach's seat, you can understand why you have to think about it, because you're thinking about how it impacts the program, how it impacts, the kids, how it impacts the administration, whatever it is, you're thinking about how it impacts and is it beneficial. So I knew that I wanted to make sure Coach never felt like she was on an island by herself, and that any pressures, that she wasn't holding the burden by herself. And just being a sounding board. I consider Coach McGraw a friend as well, but also being a person that, Coach and I can have some very transparent conversations, and sometimes assistants don't feel like they can say, but you can say a lot of things in a respectful way. Knowing that every suggestion is not going to coach. A head coach is not going to take every suggestion. They hear you, but they're not. And I was able also to mentor the other assistants. So having that experience, coming in, coming back, having Niele here, and just being a part of her growth is into the coach that she is now, has been amazing. So just making sure that everything else she didn't need to worry about.
Right. That's awesome. I mean, I'm sure everyone wishes they had a CO on their staff.
Peace of mind, right?
That's right. And speaking of being a mentor, right? So you were a fantastic mentor for Niele, who's now gone on the NBA. You got some transition on your staff. So is this another opportunity for you to engage a little bit more in the mentor role than maybe you haven't been as much in the last couple of years?
Yeah, it's a little age gap here, Megan. But love Michaela Mabry. And we also have Kayla McBride at a position, more of a player development mentor position as well. And it's been awesome to mentor those two. I think, this season in particular, I think they come in and they've seen us having so much success, as a coach, but also kind of seeing now how hard we have to work to get wins or to get success or small victories. And so they're learning quite a bit as well. They're learning how coach, her determination. They Coach is determined. And I think people think, well, Coach is a Hall of Fame coach. All she needs to do is sit on the bench and cross her legs. This season, you guys, 5 draft picks, and that's not Coach McGraw. She still has the same passion as she did when she had those, 5 pros on the team last year. Her expectations are still high for this team, and you would want it to be. And so they see her from a coaching standpoint, how much work she puts in to really continue to develop this team.
Well, and no one better than you knows the pressure there is to stay on top. And now I think the entire country is getting a little glimpse of that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think, Coach is not going to sugarcoat anything. And I respect her for that, because I think, there's tough losses. It's tough losses, but, her resilience is major. It's major. It's off the charts. And I think that's what makes her who she is. And if any of the alums that come back, they see strength in Coach McGraw, and they've learned so much from her, and they are able to share different scenarios. Like I wouldn't be in this position if it was not for Coach McGraw. And so I think Coach McGraw is the reason why we have so many alums that are coaching now, three of them on our staff. And that's a testament to her. But, I'm here to, whoever comes in new, to help mentor and transition them in.
Speaking of Coach McGraw, so recently it went viral, the tears in the press conference. We saw her vulnerability and we saw some of that resilience, and that she's taking the blame, right? She's not pointing her finger at anyone else but herself, and trying to make the team better. I think you've been close to her. You've been her right hand for 19 years. You've talked about what some of the new people on your staff are getting a whole different side of this after having seen so much success on your team. And can you share with us a little glimpse behind closed doors of putting on that hard hat every day and coming to work now with a different lens than what it's been the last couple of years?
Yeah, I've talked to different groups, coaches, and they're always surprised. We meet every day. During the season, we meet every day. We watch film. We break down film, especially after a game. We're breaking down, for, a couple hours film. She, like you said, she puts her hard hat on. She comes in here daily. She gets a little workout in the morning. She comes in. It's like, okay, what do we need to do? And we're, obviously, we have some say, but I think Coach McGraw is really good at making it a collaborative effort into the planning of practice. We're all a part of it. I know there's some coaches that say, I don't know what we're doing till we get to practice. That's not the case here. We're all involved. I know we're all saying the same language. We're all teaching the same things, and we're all on the same page of what our emphasis is for that day. And like I said, we meet daily. We met this morning to plan practice, kind of drew up some stuff. Coach had some ideas. We all kind of put in our ideas and all that. And, that's a daily thing, especially during the season.
Well, and I mean, even just from on a larger scale here, you serve on our board of directors. You're very influential in Step Up. You've already talked about being a mentor and what Muffet has done, and being very outspoken on only supporting or only wanting to support women in the game and have an all-female staff. You're one of the only, less than 15 or 20 all-female staffs in Division I women's basketball in the country. So kudos to all of you.
Yeah, I mean, it was a point, it was like a year or two, we had an all-female staff, like the early 2000s. We had an early, I think it was like 2003, 4, something like that. We had an all-female staff. Coquise Washington was one of them. And that was great. And, I think Coach really last year complimented how she really liked the all-female staff. She wants other young ladies to see, this is all female staff. I can be that one day. It's rare. It's rare. Obviously, it's more than half that they won't probably be coached by a female. What is it? 40% of women coaching women's basketball now, something like that.
Yeah, across the board. Yeah.
And then, like you said, when you add in all-female staff, it's rare. It's very rare. But coaches, girls are sometimes socialized. This is how it's supposed to be. But she's saying this is not how it's supposed to be. You can have women in power. And that's all that she wanted to convey. And it wasn't like a male bashing or anything. She wants to empower women. She wants women to feel empowered. And if she has anything to do with it, she's going to empower her former players and other women that come up and that have the desire to coach in some form of fashion. If it's not on our staff, she's going to empower women when she's, sitting in a gym in July. She's like, I love to sit next to assistant coaches. I want to know their thoughts. I know, I want to, talk to them and have conversation with them. So
we always say, if she can see her, she can be her.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, we're going to be right back after this with Coach Owens from Notre Dame.
Serious coaches need a serious education. The University of Denver offers a highly interactive and applied online education for sport and strength and conditioning coaches of all backgrounds. Students benefit from a comprehensive yet flexible curriculum to help you achieve your personal and professional goals. Come and learn from professors who are renowned leaders in coach education and dedicated to your success. Submit an application year-round and begin during any 10-week quarter with the University of Denver. Invest in yourself now and turn your passion into a successful career as a coach. For more information, head over to wecoachsports.org/DU.
And now we're back with my guest, Notre Dame Women's Basketball Associate Head Coach, Carol Owens. Okay, Carol, you've been at this a long time. How do you continue growing and learning at this point in your career?
You know what? I try to stay involved and go to clinics and symposiums, and I want to hear how people are doing different, because I don't know it all. When I get to a point when I know it all, I'm retired. But I try to do some professional development every year. I do a retreat with a group of women, and we talk a range from X's and O's to, crisis management within your team to marketing to, you name it. We talk about different things, and every year is different. There's a different topic that is the emphasis. And so I love being part of that. I love going to various practices or hearing somebody speak on leadership. I want to continue to grow on leadership. Even when I speak, like this fall, I went to Northwest Mutual in Chicago and spoke to a group of female leaders and also their young financial advisors. And it's all relative, whether you have a team or a team of financial advisors. It's all about the same things that we deal with. But I try to stay stimulated in those ways, being around other people that I can learn from, coaches. Some are non-coaches. And so I think I'm in the business of just serving people. And I do it through coaching, but there's always a strong component in terms of the relationships that you have with your players and your staff and all that.
Do you ever feel like there was a point in your career where you maybe had to sacrifice too much, or do you have any regrets at this point?
I definitely don't have any regrets. There is sacrifice, there's the various sacrifices, but I'm fortunate now. I work with a person that believes in balance. And coach really tells us sometimes, you guys get out of the office, in the spring, especially when our players are off and home for a little bit in the summer. There's an opportunity for us to get away for a while. So she believes in the balance. We've had, we got mothers on our staff. We've had single parents, they've had kids and they've been in the gym with us or they're in the office with us. And so there's balance in that way. Family is important. If it's not important to coach, it can't be important. It wouldn't be important for us. And so she makes it important. So I'm fortunate. I work for someone that believes in work-life balance.
Everyone always wants to know about success habits. So what are your success habits? And then the follow-up to that is, do you have a morning routine?
Well, I got to get back on it, but my morning routine was working out. I think that's just a part of, starting your day off well and relieving a lot of this, the stress and just getting your body move. Our bodies are made to move. And, I think people that are not in coaching think, oh, you're in the gym, so you're always working out. That's not necessarily true. You gotta make it a habit. You definitely got to make it a habit. But, success, I feel like the blueprint is different. You know what I mean? the teams that we've had have been very different, but I think that the commitment to be successful and um, the commitment to just develop really good people through basketball has been something that I think we try to emphasize. And, it starts with recruiting. We may not get the top recruiting class in the country, but we get some really good young ladies that turned out to play very well together. And in turn, we're successful because of it. I remember, coach being on the phone with some of the top players in the country and they wanted to come visit her, and, we had to take a pass on them because maybe they don't value the education piece like you need to, or we just felt like chemistry wise, how would they fit? And so coach is always looking for the right fit, the complete player that wants to excel in the classroom, wants to be challenged in the classroom as well as on the court. And so, that's a different kid. It's not always the top kid, but it can be a talented kid that goes well within the chemistry of our program. And so I think that's kind of, one of the reasons why we've been so successful. The other thing is that when you don't always get those top players, you have to develop. And, we want to develop them as people most importantly, but, develop their game on the court. And that you can see obviously in the growth of last year's 5 draftees, how they've developed through the years. And, we want to continue that.
Speaking of recruiting, let's talk about that stunning new practice facility.
It's awesome. It's really awesome. Yeah, we converted one of our rec centers, which is the square footage, I think is the largest in the country. I don't remember the number as much, but the square footage is one of the largest in the country, and we're fortunate. Everything's parallel to the men and the women. It's all the same. The men, they're on the left and we're on the right, but everything mirrors each other. There's 3 levels. There's the basketball courts level. And then the men and women share a nutritional area where you can make your own smoothies. You can all of these snacks and all. It's unbelievable. And then they share a training room and the weight room. The second floor is where all the locker rooms, team room, film rooms are. And then the third level, which is where I am now, is our offices. But it's really nice. We've had a lot of tours that come in here. We're really grateful for it. And obviously when we bring recruits in here, the eyes get wide, and it is definitely a result of the success that we've had in the past. I mean, a lot of alums contribute to this building in terms of giving. So we're very appreciative of that.
I think it's enough to make anyone's eyes get wide, Carol. It's enough to make me want to be back on campus. It's absolutely stunning.
Absolutely. Yeah. I know if I was a player, I wouldn't leave.
Right? You just camp out there forever.
You get everything you need here.
So I'm going to ask you to put on some glasses with a crystal ball here. We just saw the new collective bargaining agreement for the WNBA. We see the parity that's happening in the game across the board. If you could look through those glasses with a crystal ball in them, what would you predict for women's basketball in the next 5 years?
Wow, man. You know what? The game is going to continue to grow now because you know what? We're not going to be wearing our bodies out having to go overseas. They had a choice. They can actually stay here throughout the whole year, rest their bodies, get better, and we can have some really good WNBA seasons. And I think it's going to grow the game. It's going to grow the interest. I hope it expands, 1, 2 more teams. I would like to see the rosters increase because it's so hard to, even as a rookie, a top rookie, to make the teams now. But hopefully that will continue, and hopefully corporate sponsorships will continue. So that's what my hope is to see in the next 5 years with that.
Oh, I hope so too. So, for fun, we end every episode with rapid fire questions. I get to put you on the hot seat here.
Okay.
Name something on your bucket list.
I want to go to Iceland.
Oh, you want to see penguins?
I want to see penguins. I want to go to that Blue Lagoon, that spa. It's like the hot spring spa or something like that. I want to see the Northern Lights.
I'm kind of small. I could maybe fit in your suitcase.
Okay, let's go.
What keeps you awake at night?
I think what keeps me awake at night, you always worry about our kids and their safety. I mean, we've been blessed that our kids are responsible and do well, but, the climate of our environment, I just, I pray about that. I pray but if there was something to keep me up at night, it would be that. What's
an app on your phone that you could not live without?
Right now, Instagram. I hate to say it.
You're fitting right in. I love it. What's something that most people don't know about you?
Something that most people don't know about me is I love art. I love music. I love art. If I wasn't a coach, I would obviously do something to help people, but I would probably be in some sort of museum volunteering or something like that. I just love art. I don't know what it is. I don't know if that I lived another life. I was on this life before as an artist, but I just love it. And I can't necessarily paint or draw or anything. I just love it. 2 weeks ago, I went to see the Warhol exhibit in Chicago. So I'm usually in someone's gallery or museum or something.
That's awesome. What's a favorite arena you've coached a game? Could be anywhere in the world.
Let's see. You know what? I always liked Conseco Fieldhouse. I love that environment. When we were in the Final Four, and I think it was 2011. That was cool playing there.
That's a good one. I like it. I agree with you there. Okay, I'm throwing you a bonus question since you just said you love art and music. What's your go-to karaoke song?
My go-to karaoke song? Oh my goodness. Something Al Green.
All right. All right. I hear you.
Yeah.
Honestly though, Coach, I can't thank you enough for spending time with us today. I know you're smack in the middle of the season. You got practice coming up here on the back end. And thanks so much for all you do for WeCoach and your service on our board of directors.
Megan, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it. It was fun.
Good. And we're going to be cheering for you down the stretch here.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Conversations from the world of women's sports. This is Wisp Sports Radio.
Thanks for listening to today's episode with Carol Owens. Subscribe to Wisp Sports in your podcast app to catch each new episode dropping every other Thursday. Applications for our summer 2020 NCAA Women Coach Academy and NCAA Academy 2.0 programs are available. The deadline to apply is February 7th. For more information on all things Wisp Sports or WeCoach, check out our social media pages at WeCoach or at Wisp Sports on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Until next time, all sports, one voice, WeCoach.